Hi everybody. Well, a conference has just finished that I've been attending here in Texas. I've had the opportunity to come over here to the Alliances occasion when they had 5 different summits running in parallel, including the Customer Success Festival, the Product-Led Alliance, the RevOps Summit, etc. And I wanted to share some key takeaways from there. Somebody recently said to me, God, Susan, how do you go on these things? Like, how can I go? Well, what I would say is check out the TAME grant at the local enterprise office. That can help you support to go on a conference or to go somewhere that could be of strategic importance to your business. Check out trade missions as well, whether it's from Enterprise Europe Network, again your local enterprise office, Enterprise Ireland, your local chamber, etc. On this occasion, it was one that I wanted to go and go on myself, so I had found it and researched it and come over here for it. So that's why I'm here. I wanted to take a couple of days to get off the treadmill and to work on the business, not in the business, and really take the time to think, and it's been worth it. Okay, so a couple of things that I wanted to share with you. This came from a combination of all sorts of conversations that were had over the past 2 days, so it is a random collection. So first of all, when it comes to scale, I did ask one of the speakers, I said, how do you know if your idea is scalable enough? What questions should one ask oneself? And her answer was, is the problem big enough? i.e. are people willing to pay for it? Do enough people have the problem? Can you reach them? And can your solution, technology or otherwise, scale to meet the market? They were the questions that she said to ask. Also, recurring revenue is a theme that keeps coming up in my world at the moment, and I wanted to put this to you. Of course, investors are going to ask, do you have recurring revenue? But it's not just investors should be asking that. You should be asking that as well, because of course, the more recurring revenue you have, well then the more sustainable the business is. And it means that every day or every week or every year that you start on again, that you're not starting from zero, that you're building on previous momentum. And also, of course, it does highlight as well how much you need to focus on in terms of retention and recurring revenue. Where is that coming from? And if you say, well, actually I don't have any and that's a problem, well, think about how could that change. Possibly you could introduce retainers, possibly you need to change your business model, possibly you just need to think, possibly you need to talk to your customers about what their intentions are, etc. But think about recurring revenue. And if you don't know the percentage of recurring revenue that you have, go back and look through all of the invoices you issued over the past year and have a look, and there you'll find your answer. Okay, another session I went to was RevOps, focusing on revenue operations, and it was really good the way he mapped out the whole tech stack relating to revenue. So everything from when you get your first inquiry all the way up to when you get your first invoice, right? And then after that, like every time an invoice is paid, he basically mapped out the whole way that inquiries flow, money flows, who is answering what, who is doing what tools are you using? And he basically mapped all this out on a slide and then asked us all in the audience then to point out 4 ways that we could make it more efficient. So that's what I would say to you is, when it comes to your processes, it's really good to map them out from the very beginning and look at how could they be more efficient. Could people be doing different things? Do you need people to do certain things at all? Could you cut parts of it out? Could tools optimize it for you? Are you making the most of it? Are you asking the right questions? Are you getting the right data from there? Also, this came from the Customer Success Festival. They talked about, we often determine different customers according to the products that they buy. However, do we ever streamline our customers in terms of the opportunities they could pose? So you might buy X from me, and there's a possibility that you might buy Y and Z as well. Or else you might buy X from me, and that's all you'll ever buy. Is that if I only categorize our sales and customers according to the products that they buy, in other words, X, possibly then I'm not looking at Y and Z, and it then makes it very hard for anybody who might come in and be part of my sales process to think about that as well. They also spoke about a big challenge for bigger companies is the accuracy of projected close rates. Is that maybe if you say that you need to have X amount of sales in by a certain quarter, and then the sales pipeline maybe it's a little bit not exactly the way it should be, well then you can expedite that by saying that people are going to close deals when they're actually not. So what one company said they do is that they actually link the accuracy of one's projections to their bonus and compensation at the end of the year. So it's a question that I would have if you don't have a sales team. I would ask that, is how accurate are your sales projections in terms of timing and the possibility that they will close? And then the second thing is, if it's not yours and if you're talking to your staff, how accurate, again, are their projections in terms of timing, etc. Another great question that came up that somebody brought up during an interactive roundtable session is they said they look at the sales that aren't closed, okay, so leads that don't turn into sales, and then they look for what's common in what isn't closed to see what are they missing. Do they really want that customer? Should it be outreach? Should it be timing? Should it be features of a product, etc.? It's a very good question to ask. Then I went to a session around consumer or customer-centric messaging, and they were talking about how to bring customers into your marketing. So, okay, simple version of this is having a customer put together a customer testimonial for you. Okay, but what about instead if when you're speaking at an event talking about your product or an experience related to your service is that you bring a customer on stage with you? What about having joint webinars with your customers where they share experiences? But particularly what the central question that came out of that is, what customer advocate personas should you have in your marketing strategy? So who do you need to reach out to in order to be your advocate or to be your champion? It's again very, very good and thought-provoking question to ask. This just came up again and again, is that a lot of the time people talked about, getting feedback from customers, getting feedback from staff, getting feedback from the market, etc. But as one person said, is that if you ask people for feedback and you do nothing with it, well, then you may as well not have asked at all. Sometimes it's worse, because if you haven't actually done anything with the insights that they've shared with you, well, then that can lead to a sense of cynicism. So just that phrase, feedback without action, is no good at all. Another thing, super simple thing, everybody was talking about tools that they use in their sales conversations to record online meetings. Now, we have a tool that we use for that as well. Now, we do it's not just to review sales, it's actually for a lot more than that. But anyway, we do use a tool that transcribes certain meetings that we have online. And one person said something very simple, and they said, well, what about taking the transcript of that, running it through AI and asking the AI, how could this have gone better from a sales point of view or a customer discovery point of view, whatever it might have been. Very simple thing to do, but highly effective. A lot of people over here are talking about using Slack workflows. Not something that we really do, and we use Slack canvases. All right, we've been using Slack for years and years as our internal communication tool, but something that I want to take away. Another metric, lots of people talk about RACI with differing results, RACI, but I heard one person talk about RICE, which is a score based on reach, impact, confidence and effort. That could also be a great way to determine action that you might want to take, to determine low-hanging fruit, or also determine maybe where the reach might be but the effort might be high, or where the reach might be good but the impact could be low. Another great one that I picked up as well. Another session I went to talked about using a pre-mortem, and I had to really clarify what this was. So a pre-mortem is, so you have a scenario where you're trying to get towards, right? So our goal is to get to where our customer is a recurring revenue customer, okay? Haven't worked with them before, we want to get them to a place where they're recurring revenue. And then a pre-mortem is where, as a team, you sit down and you think through what could happen that could prevent that from happening. So maybe the business model isn't there, maybe they're not happy with the product, maybe you don't ask enough questions. So what you do is you think about what went wrong, but it didn't really, okay? So you think about what could have gone wrong, and then you work backwards to make sure that it doesn't happen. So that's a pre-mortem. Again, a reverse thinking mode. Also, I was at a session about change management, and the central question that came out of that is that, like, what do we need to change and how will it affect people positively, and let that drive your communication accordingly. Look, something that we do all the time, it's just something I shared with the group actually about what we do, and this is customer journey mapping. So from when your customer has their first touch point with you, maybe it's a LinkedIn video, maybe it is a blog post, maybe it's an article, maybe it's a speaking event, maybe it is they heard about you from a friend and they're checking up your website. Follow that all the way through to the end. To the end being you close a sale or you deliver upon a service. What is the map that customer's journey follows? And a couple of people said, like, but how do we make sure that we get really objective feedback on that? And I said, ask a customer to sit down in front of you, stand behind them and watch how they interact with your website or your LinkedIn profile. Watch what they do and don't guide them. Give them a job to do and let's see what they come back with. And don't be getting involved, just watch what they do. Also, great question is, if I was in this person's shoes, what would I want to see? So that could be a client, a participant, stakeholder, etc. So I was thinking about that, like, what would a client want to see? So maybe they want to see, I want to be able to see what's uncertain to me now and how you can make the uncertainty go away, or how do I know that what you're saying will happen? How can I deal with that? How can I deal with what's unexpected when I don't know what to expect? They're the types of questions that our customers and stakeholders may well want to ask. And also, another thing that came up is a great phrase, just because you can doesn't mean you should. This came particularly in the product-led session, is that maybe you have a new idea for technology and it's cool, but does it meet the business outcomes? Is it what the customer wants? Just because you can do something doesn't always mean you should. Think about that and take it away. Thanks everyone. Bye from Texas.